The views expressed in this program do not reflect the views of the staff, management, or licensee of this station. This is 91.7 FM WHUS Stores. I am Peddlin' Ron, and you are listening to Bicycle Talk. Welcome to Bicycle Talk with my friendly co-host, the lovely Dr. Fran Storich. If you are watching on Facebook Live, please feel free to comment below, and Fran can probably get back to you. We should be able to respond. Anyway, Bicycle Talk is a show where we talk about bicycles, bicycle culture, bicycle advocacy, upcoming news in cycling, the bicycle business, and the bicycle calendar. If you have a comment or you'd like to contribute information to the show, just drop me a line down below here, or you can email me at bicycletalk1@gmail.com. You can listen to past episodes of Bicycle Talk on WHUS.org, iTunes, Spotify, or now on my Bicycle Talk YouTube channel. Okay, Ron's Rant of the Week. This is the war on cars. Yeah, well, you know, they always got to slip in there, those darn cars. Hey, bike haters, you're going to lose your culture war you're starting, and, we're going to talk a little bit more about this in the show. And race directors' never-ending frustration with finding volunteers. That's a rant, right? It's totally a rant. Apparently, there's a lot of this going around. I talked to other promoters, and everyone seems to experience the same problems. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm going to talk about that more on the show, too, because there are some things you need to know about volunteering. And that is going to bring me to the positive side. Positive side. Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross. Yeah, I'm wearing the shirt here. This is the coveted jersey.
Oh, it's charcoal.
It's heather.
Do I get one?
It is heather gray. You might get one if you're nice to me. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, we're the only two people that get these and don't have to win the race to get them.
Okay.
But being the race director, I have privilege, so I guess we'll go with that. Anyway, crazy big shout out to my volunteers. I've got great people. This one was, other than a couple little glitches here and there, you have to have a glitch. If you don't have a glitch, then you're not an event director. Nobody's perfect. No one has a perfect event. You always have something in the background that is hopefully well hidden enough to not be a problem. Occasionally you have things that pop out and jump right out at you, like the wind grabbing a hold of our start-finish banner and taking it for a sail. But, we resolved the problem very quickly, and we did what we had to do. And again, thank you for my officials and also my timing guy for getting up and away from their chairs to help me put the whole thing down and get it out of the way. Yeah, that was exciting. Hopefully nobody got that on film. And if they did, share it with us. We'll take a look at it. It'll be fun. Crazy shout out to my volunteers. People that I had not expected to be there were there, including, well, I'll shout it out. A gentleman by the name of Steve, who happened to stop by the day before the race. I was putting together my tent, getting it ready to pop up for the next day, and I was working on a couple of other things, and he just stopped by and started chatting. He was out for a walk. He started chatting. He goes, "Hey, is the cyclocross race this weekend?" I said, "Tomorrow." And he goes, "Oh, that's really great. Hey, I've lived in Mansfield for 30 years. I kind of follow you. I know, one of my neighbors. You might ride with him, blah, blah, blah." And we got to talking, and before you know it, he's like, "What can I do?" And he just started helping. And wow, very cool. Very, very cool. So, Steve, if you're listening, you say you listen to my show often. So if you're listening, hey, thanks, man. That was great. It was totally cool. You helped me out a lot. I saw you again the next day. That was cool to see, too. People just came out and started helping. Very cool. Very, very cool. Bringing me to my next positive side comment. Happiness news, health and medical news, and longer life news, and psychology news. Do good, live longer. Volunteering may add years to your lifespan and improves overall well-being. Ha! So if you're thinking about volunteering, or you stopped volunteering, or maybe you're hesitant about volunteering, guess what? People who volunteer live longer. Hey, there you go. It's good for you. It's good for you. Anyway, we will get to more of that in the show too. And my last thing on the list of positive sides is so many today. $2 million airline trail grant is going to connect Middletown and Portland to a 111-mile central Connecticut loop. Woohoo! Here we go. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the show. Mechanical minute and cycling tips. So I don't know what to do with this one. This one's tough. I don't really have anything to talk to you about except when you're riding in a cyclocross race, try not to run over the tape. Because if you run over the tape, first of all, you pull apart our barrier tape, which makes the course get rearranged and makes it difficult for us. And I understand that sometimes you crash into the tape and it happens and all, but there's another downside of that, and that is that it'll get into your gears and it'll mess your bike up and it won't work right. It won't shift. Even a single speed will jump and click around when it's got tape stuck in there. So that's my mechanical minute and tip of the week, because I don't really have anything else. I am so tired. I cannot even begin to tell you how exhausted I am from being down at the cyclocross course for the last 3 days, putting things together and taking things down. And I'm running a little on slow motion and a lot of caffeine today. So I'm definitely doing a lot of coffee. As soon as I get done with this show, I'm going to be doing a lot of nap. And that's the way things work. So anyway, if I sound a little bit sluggy today, that's probably what it is.
You're a slug.
It's my big, I'm a slug. It's my big event
You're
of the year.
You're a big fat slug.
I'm a big fat slug. I'm not fat. I'm really not fat. And big fat slug that was Jim Henry. That's a different person. Yeah. I don't qualify for that.
Aw. He used to call you the big fat slug.
He called everybody the big fat slug.
It was a term of endearment.
It was a term of endearment, and so therefore he became known as the big fat slug. Yeah. So rest in peace, Jim. Yeah. Jim went out the best way possible. He was riding his bike. Oh. So and he unfortunately was out on a Wednesday evening swing ride, and he got in a crash and went down and never came out of it. So very, very sad. Was wearing a helmet, doing everything right, but it doesn't even matter sometimes when you're wearing a helmet. You get a head injury and sometimes it will take you out. So anyway, rest in peace to Jim. We're not going to go there, but I'm trying to get out of the positive side and cycling tips here. So let's get away from that. We'll talk about that in a bit. Well, we won't talk about that in a bit. We're going to go back now to this lovely article that is in the Connecticut Insider, and it talks about the $2 million airline trail grant to help Connecticut, to help connect Middletown, Portland to a 111-mile central Connecticut loop. So the airline trail is a trail that is out here in eastern Connecticut. It goes all the way to the Massachusetts / Rhode Island corner border. It really goes to Massachusetts, but it is very, very, very close to Rhode Island also. As a matter of fact, there's a walking point off of the airline trail when you get up there, and you can go to the corner marker for the 3 states, which is kind of cool. That's kind of a cool thing. But I believe it is just a walking trail. I've never really ridden it, but I know other people that have. So if you have a comment about that, you can tell me about what your experience was of finding the corner marker. But it's I do remember riding by it when I was working the Rymacon running relay race, and because that was my quadrant that I was working, and so I went by a sign that indicated that this was the trail over there. But very, very cool. The airline trail then goes all the way to East Hampton and now on to Portland, Connecticut. So it has increased. And what they're planning on doing is building a connection to Middletown by way of the Aragoni Bridge. And then the Aragoni Bridge is what you will use to get across the Connecticut River to get over to the western part of the state, or actually the central part of the state. But the construction, the $2 million state grant for engineering construction has the potential to unlock another $8 million in federal dollars for the overall project. The State Bond Commission will be issuing funds for the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments, which is Middletown, Portland, and Middlesex County municipalities they're all members. The airline, a former railway that takes its name from the imaginary line drawn from New York to Boston, according to the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, is a stone dust trail used by walkers and cyclists. The trail now has two sections, south from East Hampton to Windham and north from Windham to Pomfret, with the Thompson addition and beyond, according to the DEP, which I know about this because we ride on that. So it's very cool. Plans are for it to eventually connect to the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail with Middletown at the center, according to a news release from State Senator Matt Lesser. The lawmaker was instrumental in advocating for securing the money, according to the River Capital something government. See, it's COG. I can't remember what's COG stand for. River COG Executive Director Samuel Gold. The airline and Farmington Canal Trails are the two longest such routes in the state, said Gold, who has biked the airline trail all the way to Willimantic. I love it, he said, speaking from Colorado. He cycled from Glenwood Canyon. He cycled Glenwood Canyon on Sunday. So he states in here, you can see in places like Colorado where it's a huge tourism draw. It is a huge tourism draw. Back in 2019, I can tell you that the Erie Canal Trail in upstate New York was drawing $22 million a year in revenues from people riding bicycles and using the multi-use trail. So I'm not sure exactly how they determine that, but there's a lot to do with hotel stays and stopping at cafes and coffee shops and having lunches and dinners and all that. It all adds up. It all adds up to real money, real commerce, and really positive because no exhaust, no fumes from cars, no environmental impact, very, very little maintenance to keep the trails going. And, it's just all such a great thing. So once finished, the 23-mile alternative FCT connector will complete the 111-mile Central Connecticut Loop Trail. The local portion now ends at 82 Middle Haddam Road in Portland, Connecticut, which goes to East Hampton and beyond. So that part is new. I haven't actually seen that one yet, but I might go out and check it out this weekend because Belltown crosses this weekend, and I was thinking maybe I'd go stop in and say hi to those guys since they support my race, and I thought maybe I would support theirs by showing up. So I might bring my bike and just check out the new section because I haven't been on it yet, so it'd be kind of nice to see. So that's what's going on. The town of East Hampton just received funding to complete its gap in the trail, and Meriden, through South Regional Council of Governments, has finished its plan, as has Cheshire and Naugatuck Valley. So everything's coming together. It's all getting closer and closer. We're all working together towards this vision, and now we have money to build. The Portland to Middletown connector would make its way over the Aragoni Bridge, which spans the Connecticut River. This is a once-in-a-career this is a once-in-a-career time for me when there's money in Washington, D.C. for projects like this through the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity Grant. The entire initiative is expected to take longer than a decade, according to John Hall. I have to stay alive 10 more years. According to John Hall, executive director of the Jonas Center for Earth and Art in Middletown. As the state invests in it, it becomes more and more likely to happen, and now it's becoming a major project, he said. The airline passenger trail was built in the late 19th century. It was called Airline as if it were how a bird flies, Hall said. It was the most direct line between New Haven and Boston. It came right through Willimantic too, and the interesting thing about it coming through Willimantic is back in those times, the Capitol Theater building was rocking. It was a theatrical presentation theater. It wasn't a movie theater, and it was a lot of the acts that were on Broadway would stop by on their way through, or they would store their equipment there. And so Willimantic was an amazing, thriving cultural town way back then, and it's changed a lot now, but it's still a great little spot. It's still a wonderful town, and Willimantic is really starting to respond to the possibilities of the possibilities of capitalizing off of the usage of the airline trail, which is kind of a no-brainer. It really is. You build it and they will come. And what I find about trails like this, and I talk about trails a lot, I know, and maybe it gets a little old, but they bring revenue. They're good for business. They're really, really good for business. And that is good for all of us. Remember, it takes 10 bicycles to fill one parallel parking space. Remember that. That's 10 single people on bicycles versus one single person in an automobile. Enough said? I don't have to do that math. Anyway, so we're hoping that this continues to go. There's all these trails do require a 20% non-federal match, so the towns have to kind of come up with the money to match the 80% of the money that they're getting. It's an inexpensive investment in your town infrastructure and in your town's revenue. So a lot of the towns figure out a way to come up with the 20%. And some of that 20%, I know our little town of Chaplains next door to us here, their 20% came from their workers putting together the final touches on the trail and doing the excavation work and doing all that stuff. And they were able to spend their own infrastructure dollars that they would use for road construction and parks and recreation and all that. And they combined it all in, and that's how they came up with their piece of the pie, basically. So a little bit of creativity and a little bit of, grab a little money from this part of your budget and that part, and you got your 20%, and off you go. So it's pretty cool. The $10 million will allow the overall project to be realized. It's much bigger than the trail because once you complete this, it becomes possible. What becomes possible is a 111-mile loop in the center of Connecticut. It will create very significant recreational and transportational facility that will connect neighbors to retail workplaces, making walking and biking viable option for people and create more safe spaces for recreation for families. And Gold here envisions tourism connection could follow. There are people who do the East Coast Greenway, and this would be a convenient route for them. So yeah, there's people that actually will travel from, the East Coast Greenway is not done yet, but there are pieces that are done. And I've had people come through this area that are on an East Coast Greenway trip, and they have to use some roads still because it ends in places and that hasn't come through in certain places, but they can primarily spend their time on a multi-use trail instead of being out in traffic, which resolves that fear of cars problem that many people seem to have these days. So, it's enjoyed by pedestrians, horseback riders, cross-country skiers, and many others who can travel from Maine to Florida. Cool, huh? Anyway, I'm a big believer in this. I never thought I was going to see what I've seen so far happen in my lifetime, and it looks like all I got to do is just keep alive for a little while longer, and I'll be able to see even more. It'll be really cool. I just can't imagine being able to go out for, a 100-mile ride on trails without ever getting on the roads. That's amazing, isn't it? It's kind of cool. So, anyway, here we go. We're going to we're going to see this happen within the next 10 years. We will see the finality of this. So see what happens, because right now you can go all the way, pretty much almost all the way from New Haven to Westfield, Mass, and there's not a lot of interruption along the way. So it's pretty cool. I think that there's a little bit of an interruption still in Southington area. Not 100% sure on that, but very much possible that that's going to be taken care of very soon too. So pretty cool stuff. So that's my airline trail update. That's what I got. For more information, you can visit portal.ct.gov/DEEP, and you can learn more about the airline trail and the things that are going on. You can also visit thejonahcenter.org and learn more there too. So big shout out and special thanks to Cassandra Day, who wrote this article. She's an assistant managing editor at the Middletown Press. And this was a great little piece that someone dropped in my inbox and said, "Hey, Ron, check this out. This is cool. You might like this for your show." And I do. So now let's go on to the next item on my agenda, which is a study finding that volunteering may add years to your lifespan, improving overall well-being. Yeah, do good, live longer. Yay, let's hear that. That's a good thing. So if we're going to continue to ride our bikes and keep ourselves really healthy, there's a really good chance that we are going to live longer because of the health aspect of riding our bikes. But please, folks, don't forget helping out along the way. And, if your helping out happens to be something to do with your bicycle, in other words, maybe your local bike club is putting on an event, or maybe your local recreation department is doing, let's say, a bike rodeo or something to help get kids on bikes, or maybe even your town has a bike ride safe program that you can get involved with. You need to volunteer. Volunteering is good for you. Who would have guessed? Humans are social creatures by nature. Perhaps this is why our minds and bodies are rewarded when we give to others. And this is by lead author Dr. Eric Kim of the Chan School of Public Health at Harvard University. This was in a release. Our results show that volunteerism among older adults doesn't just strengthen communities, but enriches our own lives by strengthening our bonds to others, helping us feel a sense of purpose, well-being, and protecting us from feelings of loneliness, depression, and hopelessness. Regular altruistic activity reduces our risk of death, even though our study didn't show any direct impact on a wide array of chronic conditions. So, for all of you folks out there, just as a shout out, I hear it all the time. "Oh, you're retired? Well, I can't do that. I wouldn't know what I would do if I retired. My work is my life, is my definition to life." Sad, very sad story. My work is too. I love my work. I love what I do, and I still continue to do things that are related to my entire career and my passion and interest in cycling. But I'm retired, and I volunteer for a lot of things because it's the right thing to do. Plus, I have people that put on events also besides me, and they volunteer into my events, and we go back and forth. We exchange. We basically, exchange the gratitude of having a volunteer from another event helping us out. So, here's where it goes. Okay, when you give, you also receive. The researchers randomly selected nearly 13,000 participants in a national study conducted between 2010 and 2016. Participants were split into two groups and tracked for 4 years each. The research team used health data, face-to-face interviews, surveys to evaluate the effects of volunteering on 34 specific physical and mental health outcomes. Interestingly, the analyses reveal that volunteering does not seem to be linked to improvements in numerous chronic health conditions. In particular, the authors noted no change for sufferers of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, hypertension, cancer, lung disease, cognitive impairment, arthritis, or chronic pain, or obesity. Further research is needed to um, find some of the findings in the study to clarify why some of the results of the study differ from the previous. But you can still volunteer. You can still volunteer, and you can still have that help you in your health. If you're very healthy, your chances are even better. Okay, this article unfortunately was written before or during COVID, so it was concluded we have a chance to create policies and civic structures that enable more giving in society. Are you thinking of retiring? Are you retired? No. Are you a stay-at-home mom or dad that has maybe a block of time during the day because the kids are off to school and you got a little bit of wiggle room and can throw an hour in here and an hour in there? Do it. Go for it. It's great. Volunteers are tremendous and they're a great asset. And we are desperate for more volunteers. We really are. I had I had more than 2 people this year who came to me and volunteered for my event. And they all came away with, I can't wait to do this again next year. Don't forget to reach out to me because I really want to become more involved. You can't get better than that. It's great. And, of those 3 people that I'm thinking of, none of them are actually in my bicycle club. They are outside of my bicycle club. And they were so excited to do this. And just, I picked the right people for the jobs because I know their personality traits. And I went, you know what? I need people in registration. I know 2 people that would be really, really good at this because they are uber organized and that's the perfect job for them. You also have to be sure that you pick someone for a job that you're going to give them at your event that is going to match their personality, because if they don't match that, they're not going to have a good time. They're not going to want to come back next year. I think I nailed it this time. I think I totally nailed it. So that was good. That was fun. And then I had one of my good dedicated spin class people. Actually, I had 3 of my dedicated spin class people that came out and helped. Well, make that 4. I'm adding them up in my head right now. And one of them is, he's a high level endurance athlete. He's ridden his bicycle across the country multiple times. And he said, I want to help you this year. Bob Enright, big shout out to you, Bob. If you're watching this, listening to this, this is for you. Showed up all 3 days. The day we put stakes in the ground, the day we put the ribbons to the stakes and put barriers up, and the day of the event. And Bob showed up all 3 days and was an enormous help, right on down to the last pieces being removed from the trailer on the back of my car and stacking things in the backyard where I keep things for the supplies for the race. Bob was with us all the way. The only thing Bob missed out on was the nighttime bourbon because he had to go back home so his wife wouldn't get too angry with him being gone all day. And I get that. That's fine. Domestic tranquility is a good thing. That's very, very good. But next year, we're going to pencil in some time for that too, because that's kind of fun.
And next year, I'll actually participate.
And next year, Fran will be around, because Fran is usually she's usually what we call the podium girl. And she helps me with handing out prizes. Actually, for what it's worth, Fran gets an immense amount of enjoyment from it, whether she'll admit it or not. But I think she has as much fun handing out the prizes as especially like the kids and the adults do in getting the prizes. So, and this year, my big shout out goes in that direction to Amanda. And Amanda, oh my God, you were spectacular this year. Absolutely spectacular. Amanda, who had run the Hartford Marathon the day before, shout out to Amanda. She
did really well
She
too.
did a 3:25, and on not really a lot of focused training for the marathon. She's just a fabulous athlete, and she's a great friend of ours. She ended up showing up at my house after the marathon, with some seriously sore legs and all of her paraphernalia to organize the prize bags and get everything boxed and ready to go. So all I had to do was carry it down there, and then she showed up on the day of the event. And I ran through the first series of awards, or first podium for the Category 5 race, and then Amanda was there from that point on. We did something really cool yesterday at the race. I meant to tell you this, Fran. This was so cool. All the juniors that raced, we didn't do the awards until all of them were done.
Yeah.
And the parents were pretty cool with it, because sometimes they had, one kid in this age group race and another kid in a higher age group race or whatever. So they were there anyway. And so we asked them if it would be okay if we just did all the awards at the same time at the end. And what we had was this huge gathering of families hanging around the podium, everyone cheering on everyone else.
Aww,
I saw
nice.
so many cameras going, phone cameras, videos, all that. Everybody was taking videos. By the way, if you have a video you'd like to share, please send it over to the Bicycle Talk or the Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross Facebook page. I also have an Instagram account, so you can check in there too. I believe it's a Bicycle Talk Instagram account, me being so socially unaware as far as this whole social media goes. But my announcer, Jake Kravitz, has also a Connecticut Cyclocross Series Facebook page postings, and anything you can put in there, we would really, really appreciate. Because as a race director, I use that information and those, video clips and pictures and all when I approach my sponsors and say, hey, thank you so much. Here's what we did. Here's how your product was exposed. Here's the person announcing your product every hour on the hour, blah, blah, blah. It's a useful tool for me as a race director, because you got to keep everybody happy. You keep them happy and they come back next year. Like our good friend, Mr. Doug Crane of Dragon's Blood Elixir, who is a long time supporter of the Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross, and my friend over here, Dr. Fran Storch, and the Healing Earth Natural Medicine, who is also a sponsor of the event. So all good stuff. It just really it helps to get as much information as you can. And then I'm also going to comment here a little bit more on the cross race, and our friend Scott Livingston, who has a blog post, and he has blog posts for a lot of the different events that he and his wife Deb do. And they're marathoners, ultra marathoners, cyclists. And last weekend I saw him at the Lime Rock Park Epic Gravel Grinder. He was there for that, and then he came back and did Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross. And of course he has a blog post that he puts out there, and it's I think it's called Life Adventures is what it is. Somewhat lucid thoughts about a fast-paced life. Also, Scott is the owner of Horst Engineering, and he makes these really cool cyclocross spikes that you can put in the bottom of your shoes for doing steep uphills and run-ups, and when you have to get off the bike. So pretty cool stuff. And anyway, I have a blog post here from him, and he said, this was from yesterday, today I rode my 16th Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross.
Wow.
It was one of my 7th ever cross races back in 1995. That year, the race was in December. It is the longest continually running cross race in New England. Well, we had a couple of burps along the way, but yeah, I've been doing it for 40 years. And he was kind enough to post a picture of Dragon's Blood Elixir hot sauce that he won, and the Mansfield Hollow pint glass that was also sponsored by Store Center Cycle, a local bike shop here in town. So nice little shout out for my sponsors. They they're there every year. They're there to help. It's a wonderful thing. And then he has some pictures from the area. There's a great picture of all the tents lined up. We had 13 people signed up to put tents up. We had 15 tents in total up. Very, very cool. Parking lot was full. It was really festive. We finally have figured out how to really contain the race into one tight little area with registration and timing and team tents and announcing, and also the pit area is all there. So it's just a really nice little venue that we have developed over there at Mansfield Hollow. The only thing we have not learned to control over there is the wind. And the wind can be brutal at times because we are using a big open field. The only saving grace we have is we have this big dike which kind of blocks a little bit of that northwest flow, which we had 14-mile-an-hour winds yesterday. So it was a little windy, and of course keeping ribbon tape up when it's windy out is a challenge. But we did it. We did it. We had to do a little course repair here and there, and do some things. And now I've already Keith Enderly and Dave Geiser. Huge shout out. These guys are the magic that makes Mansfield Hollow happen. They are both masters cross racers. They've been racing their bikes for pretty much their entire lives, and got very, very dedicated into cyclocross as they were. Actually, I think both of them, as they got a little bit older, they kind of discovered cross, and now they're quite good at it. And the best part about it is they understand the whole sport a lot better than they did years ago, and so they have a lot of input. And these are the guys you need. It also does not hurt that they are both, well, I'm going to say Keith is retired. I'm going to say Dave is trying to be retired. He retired and then he went back to work. David, stop working. But anyway, so they have a little bit of extra time, which is like super helpful for me because I need people that can put the time into it. And course construction and insights all came from those two guys. Dave said it's all on Keith, and Keith said, well, you helped. And so anyways, it's just kind of a funny thing we got going back and forth. But I've already seen some, here's what we need to do for next year, things that have come through in my text with these guys, and they're just really, they're very tired also and very excited at the same time. So having someone who understands the sport at that level really, really helps a lot. And I'm going to tell you, the level of the two biggest categories that are happening in cyclocross today are the masters and the juniors. And in between, yeah, we have the other age groups and the men's and the women's and all that. But masters and juniors are my biggest draw for this race. So that's really cool. I'd love to draw more Cat 5, novice riders, and let them get a taste for the sport, because I see people coming back to me. I had a lot of people talk to me yesterday, and they would come back to me and say, this was my first race. I did this for the first time 5 years ago. I did this for the first time. Well, here's Scott Livingston. He did it how many years ago? 13 years ago? Other people that just did it last year, and they're back. They got hooked. They did one event, and this was their first one, and they all of a sudden became cyclocross guys. Paul Hermes, there's another one. He's another relatively newbie into the sport, but doing particularly well because he was a former runner. And you know what happened? You know what they call old runners, Fran, right? Cyclists, you got it. Because eventually the knees go, I don't want to do that anymore, or the hips say, you know what, this is getting a little bit hard on me, or maybe the lower back catches up with you. Running is a bit of a different sport, but you've got the endurance, you've got the cardiovascular background and build up, and then all you have to do is translate over to learning skills. That's not easily learned, by the way. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it does. Some people are just naturals at it, and then other people, it requires a little bit more focus and concentration. But anyway, check my time for me, Freddie. Anyway, I get a lot of people that come back and
you have 40 minutes.
Okay.
You're at 40 minutes.
Thank you very much. So it's just a great sport, and people just really have fun there. We try to make it into a big party. That's the whole idea. Try to keep people around as much as possible. I'm always looking for ways to keep people there longer during the day, and we have experimented with changes in schedules and other various things. But when I saw that gathering of the junior riders all at the same time getting the awards, and I saw Miss Amanda with that smile on her face handing those awards to those little girls, and she was just beaming, just absolutely beaming. And you can run, but you can't hide, Amanda. I saw that. Anyway, she just seemed like she was having the time of her life. And, Amanda's a very high-level athlete, and it's just really cool to see these young girls coming into the sport and, heading in that same path, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe this is just what they like to do. Maybe it's a sport that, isn't really offered at their school, but they found this on their own, or maybe their parents drew them into it. I talked to one little boy yesterday, and I said, so how did you learn about cyclocross? And he said, my friend does it. And my friend talked me into doing it, and we talked to my parents, and now I'm doing cyclocross, and it's really, really fun. We have a blast. The other thing is, and this is a shout out to one of my friend's sons, and Art Rohde has a little boy by the name of, I know you're not that little, Lars, but anyway, you are. In my world, you're little. Anyway, Lars came over and saw me setting up the little tiny kids race, because I have a like 6 and under race for anybody who just wants to play around. We put a little weaving course out there for them to just ride around, and we, let them go for 8 to 10 minutes, and we ring cowbells and, just cheer them all on. And it is a cute festival is what it is. It is totally the cute festival of all times, because you see these itty bitty little kids. 2 of them were on Strider bikes, so they didn't even have pedals on them. And they were going, and they were doing their thing. And it's just like everybody's just having a good time. Parents are overwhelmed and blown away by the whole thing. It's just so cool. And so my friend's son Lars comes over and says, would you like some help? And he and his friend, I'm sorry I don't remember your friend's name, Lars, but you can let me know later on. They came over and they started helping, and he looked at me and said, do you know who I am? And I said, yeah, I think I know who you are. He said, I'm Art Rohde's son. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Well, thank you so much. And anyway, he was just like getting all excited about how we're going to do this little course. And I said, don't overthink it. We're just doing something really, really simple here. And just was there to help and volunteer without being asked. There it is, without being asked. People that show up and volunteer without being asked have a very, very special place in my heart. That's a really, really cool thing. So anyway, yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. And so anyway, it lists us here on Scott's blog post. It says the course got a really nice makeover thanks to the work of his teammates Keith Enderly and Dave Geisert. They lent a hand to race director Ron Menizza. Ron always pulls in good volunteers and proceeds from race support. The proceeds from race support. The Friends of Mansfield Hollow, and also Bike Mansfield is also on that list too. Shout out to Lon, who showed up to sit at the food table yesterday. Thank you very much, sir. I know you weren't feeling good, so it was extra special to have you there yesterday. I really appreciate the time you put into it, and we'll do more things with you in the future, including hoping to give more money towards Bike Mansfield, because Bike Mansfield just set up a program at the new elementary school for all the fourth graders to learn all about bicycles. They've invested. We have helped them invest in with grant money and other money that comes in. We have invested in bicycles to supply all the kids with bicycles as they learn how to fix bikes, ride bikes, learn about traffic, learn about everything there is to know about bicycling and commuting and all the positives that go along with that. And our friend David Wahlberger will probably be teaching that course. So, and he is a league certified teacher for bicycles and bicycle safety and all that. If you go to the Mansfield school system now and you're in the elementary school, you don't get out of elementary school without learning all about bicycles. How cool is that? This is why I like to do these things, because there's just so much goodness out there, and it's just a great way to support your community, grow your community, and get your community to really understand bicycles and what bicycles are all about. So it's all a good thing. Actually, I can see the bottom left corner is great. I got it now.
Okay.
I just forgot to look there. So anyway, it was, Scott goes on to say, we had a fine October weather. It was cool in the morning. There was a stiff breeze by the time he had started a single speed race at 12:30. But he warmed up a bit, so he wore shorts. It was pretty comfortable. It's definitely, it's a funny thing with cross, because when you would be out on the road, you would have had tights or knee warmers or something like that on. But you get really warm when you're working that hard, putting out that kind of wattage on soft surface and all that. So shorts becomes a different dressing game as far as that goes. Anyway, it's just all a really cool thing, and Scott had done 3 of the 4 Rocky Hill Cyclocross Training Series races that were just this past month, and this was his first official cross race of the season. So very, very cool. Thank you very much for the shout out and the blog post. Really appreciate it. I also had a woman there who was a photographer, and she was there because her brother was in the Cat 5 race. So she came up to me because someone said, that's Ron over there. He's the race director. You should talk to him. She came up and she asked my permission to take photos and post them. Of course you have my permission to take photos and post them. You should see what she did. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on the Bicycle Talk Facebook page. She put together a whole bunch of photos. There's going to be more coming. By the way, cross results are up, just so you know. They are at crossresults.com, and the Mansfield Hollow October 15th cyclocross race is now up and online. And then it looks like I see 1, 2, 3 possible race picture sites here too. So there you go. If you want to take a look, you can. And there's also, when you go there, if you have pictures you would like to post, go to Cross Results, go to the Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross page, and you can post your pictures from your list, posting your URL, and you can add it to the Cross Results. Please do. This is great. I love this. This is so useful for me. It's so useful for anybody who was in the race, because you get to look back and go, hey, that's me. Look at that great picture. And then, there may be some commercialization there. I mean, there might be people that are professional photographers, and they might charge you for a photo of yourself. But hey, if it's a good one, of course you'll pay for it. Why not? Why not? And help support these people who went around and took hundreds of pictures all day long at the cross race. It's such a cool thing. It's a cool event. I thank everybody again for everything they did for me. It's just been fun. So that's it. I know I talk about Mansfield Hollow cyclocross a lot, but it is a very big, passionate thing for me. I've been involved in the sport for a really long time. I started it many, many years ago when I owned my bicycle shop, Rainbow Cycle Sport in Willimantic, and I was still racing my bike, but not nearly as much, because I was having a hard time juggling the training with the bike racing and running a business. And it's those 60 and 70 hour a week summer weeks are a little draining on your training. So my training then started to shift, and I would find that as things would start slowing down with my business, I had a little bit more time to ride my bike, and I would get my legs back and get starting to feel good again. And I got the idea in my brain that I needed to find a cross race, because I hadn't done cross in a long time. I was out riding around on some power lines near my house, and I went, you know what? It's time to put on a race. Let me see what I can do. Contacted my district rep, and she guided me through the approvals, and the rest of it is history. And I've been doing it ever since 1983. So 40 years now, and we still have Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross, and it is a classic, and it was epic yesterday. It's only epic because of the people that show up and help me and volunteer. Shout out to Dave Burdett for showing up in the wee dark hours of the morning and helping us get tents set up and get things ready to go. He said, what do you want me to do? Here, you can do this, Dave. Yep, and he did it. You can do this, Dave. Yeah, he did it. He helped Alan get his tents up. He was the man of the hour. He was just perfect. It was great. We had so many people, people from my spin class, people from the bike club, so many people that showed up. And then I have people from the spin class and the bike club. Big shout out to Jeff Smith on that one. And, it's just people come out at the right time for the right reasons. And it was just such a cool event. So I'm very, very happy with everything that happened yesterday. At the very end of the day, huge shout out to Christian Joseph, who always shows up with his pickup truck at the end. He was like totally helpful, because we used his truck and my trailer, and it took us, basically 2 trailer loads for me and 1 truckload for him, and we had that whole thing unpacked and ready to go. A shout out to Jake Kravitz. If you're ever looking for an announcer for your race, Jake is the man. He knows a lot of the racers. He will be announcing the Belltown race this weekend, and he does a really, really good job with it. And he did a really good job as the race was winding down at shamelessly reminding people that all they had to do was give an extra 10 minutes before they left and help us take down some barrier tape and wrap things up, and it would be a huge help. The breakdown was incredibly fast yesterday. We had everything really wrapped up well before dark, is when Christian and I finished the last, and Bob and I finished the last unload here at the house. Oh, big shout out to Garth Bean. Yeah, because Garth not only helped us with all of that, but Garth also dons the chicken soup. Oh, did I give that away? Anyway, he is my chicken. He's great. He goes into character. He hands out little eggs with candy in them for the little kids. He's just a hoot. He's an absolute hoot. The kids love him, and actually everybody loves the chicken. The chicken is fun. Remember, if you're going to a cross race, I talked about this last week, what to do, what to expect when you go to cross race. You bring a cowbell, make a lot of noise, bring one of those funky horns and make a lot of noise. Dress up in a costume. And what the heck, it's close enough to Halloween. Who cares? Wear your Halloween costume. Come to a cross race. Have fun. It's not your normal bike race. It's a different kind of event. It's a fun family event. It's really, really a good time. So I highly encourage you to check it out and get hooked on cross, whether you're a spectator or whether you are a participant. Come play. Come play with us. It's over now. I'm going to go through a little bit of withdrawal for the next week or so as I finish paying my bills and getting everything completely wrapped up and kill the fruit fly that's flying around my face right now. And so big let go, sigh. I had to teach a spin class this morning at 5:45. That was difficult. That was very difficult. Fortunately, I had 2 of the people that were in the class were there helping me yesterday, and they were equally as exhausted. So we just really kind of went for a ride this morning. did a couple of intervals here and there, but really it was kind of like just a comfortably hard spin out on the bikes, and no one seemed to object to that because it was just enough after what we went through yesterday. I walked 18,000 steps yesterday, just to give you an idea of just the walking around that I do as the race director. It's and 16,000 the day before and 15,000 the day before that. So I got some tired legs right now. And I will say walking up to the top of the steps to go to my spin class was truly a monumental feat, so to speak. That's it. I'm done. I have nothing else. I'm going to move on here. I had other things I could talk about. We didn't get to the bike haters thing, why you'll lose the culture war you're starting. And so basically, I'll give you a brief on this, and then we will cover it next week when I have more time. And basically, this comes from Street's blog, and it says here, for some reason, people who choose to get around by car are waging a cultural war against people who point out the negatives of autocentric roadways, but the haters will not prevail. And then the article was written on October 12th, and we will cover that next week. I'm going to highlight it so I don't forget to cover it next week, and we'll be back at that time. In the meantime, on the events page, here we are. The Newtown Cross Race is over. The Mansfield Hollow Cross Race is over. The October 22nd Belltown Cross in East Hampton, Connecticut. Come out. Come strong. Have some fun. Bring a bike. Ride around. It's great. It's going to be a blast. They have a similar atmosphere. I love those guys. They do a really good job. And they're the next in the Connecticut series of cross. So come on down to East Hampton next weekend and come check out the cross race. Even if you're just coming to watch, bring your cowbell. Good thing. After that, we have a new race called the Moran Cross, which is presented by the Laurel Bicycle Club and Moran Middle School Cycling Team on October 29th. On November 5th, a shout out to Hunter and the Cheshire Cross. And on December 3rd, the Governor's Guard Rodeo, which is the final of the Connecticut series. And that's what we got on the scene as far as that goes. Remember, December 5th through the 10th, it's the National Championships, and they are down in Louisville, Kentucky this year. So finishing points, Mansfield Hollow Cyclocross, the Connecticut Cyclocross Champion, the Connecticut Cyclocross Series. And, oh, I do love those listener comments. Just keep them coming. Remember, Belltown Cross is coming up this weekend. I'll say it again. It won't be my last time. Get loud. Get active. Our time has come. Stop complaining about traffic, dangerous roads, the price of gas, and the lack of places to safely ride, and join the revolution of change. Yeah, it's good. Take a day, park a car or truck. Use your bike instead. You just might surprise yourself. The views expressed in this program do not reflect the views of the staff, management, or licensee of the station. You've been listening to Bicycle Talk with my co-host, Fran Storch, a show where we talk about bicycles, bicycle culture, bicycle advocacy, upcoming news in cycling, the bicycle business, and the bicycle calendar. If you're listening to this on Facebook Live, you can leave a comment below. If you are listening to this in an audio file and podcast, simply send me an email at bicycletalk1@gmail.com. You can listen to past episodes at whus.org, iTunes, Spotify, and now on my Bicycle Talk YouTube channel. If you want to contribute information, drop me an email. This is Pedalin' Ron. Remember, keep that rubber side down and the wind at your back. Get out and ride your bike. It really could save your life. This is 91.7 FM, WHUS Stores, and WHUS.org. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.